Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
All right, good evening, Flames fans. Welcome aboard the final show of this regular season. I'm Anand Unnithan. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining with us. And right along me is Conrad Krausert, our friendly favorite Game Over Calgary host. The iconic duo is back with us for the final game of the regular season. We were planning to have some more faces on the show to wrap this up, but unfortunately they are busy, so we'll let them be. But Conrad will dissect this game. We'll talk about few things we need to talk about, and we'll why not end it as a party, thanking everyone that we saw. But Conrad, first of all, how are you this evening? What did you first general thoughts of the game to begin with?
So I'm going to talk mostly about the game tonight. I'm not going to talk about the seasons because we are going to have a season wrap-up video coming out likely next week to go through what pitfalls this Flames team came through. But if the Flames weren't going to be in the playoffs, at least we could play the kids, and the kids showed that they're ready to take that next step. That's not to say I'm entirely happy watching today's game. Obviously, Christine Merrill, Matt C., talking in chat about how this Flames team was 21 seconds away from beating that Anaheim's Ducks squad, and this could have been the Flames making the playoffs that we're talking about. But instead, we're getting the opportunity to talk about some of the Flames' next generational talents, so not all bad tonight.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll start with some game specifics, some notes I have, then Conrad, I'll shoot it over to you.
Sure.
In the second period, we'll talk about the future is bright, a few of the kids, and then we'll talk about some UFA players, a restricted free agents player, and then we'll wrap up with, of course, your chat section, your questions and your thoughts, and any final comments you have as a Game Over Calgary fan. But before that, one final ad read from me this season, and then you'll will not have to hear it until October now, or maybe if you go check out other streams as well. But Hyperdrive Hockey brings you fill in on the hockey world, whether it's Max Van Hood, Devin Lemmer, or Devin Malibu or Kevin Lemaire. They bring you the taste on the hockey world. You can follow us at the GameOverNetwork.com. It's available on our YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or Amazon, wherever you listen. They'll give you an entire recap. Of course, playoffs are coming up. You have all other teams. We'll talk about the other markets soon as well.
Well, except for Vancouver.
Yeah, except for Vancouver. 100%. So we'll talk about...
Had to put that dig in.
We'll start all the way from the first period. Conrad, I think one important credit if you're giving tonight is Dan Vladar. He hasn't played in almost a month and showed up tonight, making big key saves, and the score only stayed at 5-1. Your thoughts on Dan Vladar tonight?
Obviously, big fan of number 80 for the Calgary Flames, Dan Vladar. Dan played well tonight. In what could be his final game as a member of these Calgary Flames, he showed that he has the talent to be an NHL goaltender, and whether that's him taking his trade elsewhere where he feels he can be a starter, or if he is happy in Calgary and feels his role being behind a rising star in Dustin Wolf, we'll have to see, but he certainly played his heart out today for himself, for this team that had 4 rookies skating on it. I can't remember the last time the Flames had 4 rookies on a roster, period. But playing behind a set of defenders where you didn't have some of your top guys or guys who have played a lot this season, and you had Zane Parekh and Hunter Brustevich playing their first NHL regular season games, to put up that performance is certainly something to take note of, and something for Dan Vladar to leave a fond memory behind with Flames fans.
100%. We'll see if he returns to the camp next year. Of course, the big question becomes, does he want to still be a backup, or does he want to go get a starter role somewhere? Does he want bigger numbers? All the questions to think about later on.
Because he's 27, right? Like, we have
Yeah,
to remember that, like, this could be his last chance at a big contract. And we don't know what he desires as a way to wind into this next phase of his career. He could be happy collecting $2.5 million to be a backup at the Flames, or he could go test the open market and see what the maximum amount of the dollar figure he can garner. But whatever the future holds, it was a good way to send him off as a Calgary Flame, if that is the case.
100% well said, Conrad. My next topic, I wanted to talk about Yegor Sharangovich, how he has looked better in the later half of the season, especially the last week, especially after changing his possible pre-game meal to salmon and risotto. Could he have changed it a little more sooner than enough? Could we have gotten a better Yegor Sharangovich probably in the earlier part of the season?
A superstition you can only attribute so much of this to. I think Igor Sharangovich definitely built into understanding his role a little bit later on in the season. And it's a shame went to the locker room about 15 minutes early tonight. So you have to hope that he's not injured severely, and maybe it's just, hey, it's the last game of the season. Let's let some of those kids get a few more minutes, shut you down for the season a little bit early. That's what you have to hope it is. Yeah, Igor Sharangovich definitely turned it around in the last couple of weeks. I wouldn't say he's been the star that his upcoming contract extension would make me want him to be, but certainly played better, which is... we can celebrate improvement for today.
We can, definitely. One other improvement, I think 2 points I'll segue from you said Yegor Sharangovich went to the room, but so did Adam Klapka as well. Maybe he got banned up a little. It was the last game, of course, so giving other chances. But he has also considerably improved over the season, especially the last couple of games, getting top line minutes, getting a chance to play with Kadri and tonight with Suniev. Your thoughts on Adam Klapka so far this season, Conrad?
Adam Klapka was not a player who was even on a lot of our radars to open this season, and then for him to have the season he's had following the Four Nations face-off, it's been great to see. It leads me to question, is his development cycle done? What does his next contract look like? But certainly is better to have players starting to perform at the end of the year, and those questions need to be answered. But I don't think we necessarily thought that would be even a question on the test going into that quote-unquote all-star break.
100%. And I'll talk about the scoring summary soon, but I have one more player to ask you about, Conrad, and that's Joel Farabee. I believe he has been snake bitten a little bit while now. He took a penalty today. He has been little difficult to watch compared to Morgan Frost. Probably he's still recovering from the John Tortorella Philadelphia Flyers era, but maybe hopefully a reset for him next season.
That's what you have to hope, because you need it to not get worse. Hasn't scored a goal as a Calgary Flame, has his one goal called back. You have to wonder how much an off-season plus whatever this extra not making the playoffs can allow him to either stay in Calgary and get to know the city a little bit, maybe meld in a little bit more to the coaching philosophy. Because I don't think he's been bad by any stretch of the imagination. I actually think his on-ice performance has been fairly good. It's just not the results that have come. So you hope that he can improve. Obviously, we saw Morgan Frost be the star of that trade in this season. Well, I don't know one of the players in that trade is did pretty well to end the season off in Philadelphia. And the other one's going to the playoffs in Los Angeles, so I don't know if you can consider the Flames winning that trade. But I digress. I think we have Farabee for another season, if my brain's correct.
I believe so.
Or if not two. There's lots of time to evaluate this player moving forward. I don't think this half a season has been the best for him, his game, whether that's mentally or, I don't know, maybe he had a knock, as they call it in football circles. We'll have to see moving forward, because I don't think we've seen the best of Joel Farabee as a Flame.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully things turn around for him. One point to make on Farabee front, of course, and the Frost front also.
2 additional years, by the way.
Yeah, 2 additional. Thank you, Matsy, for poking that around, and Conrad as well. But talking about Farabee and Frost, there was a reason Conrad made the trade. You had Zummack, who was starting to gel up. He was basically gonna go for free. We also betted with Pelche as well. He was gonna go for free. So that now that he got something, you could argue, but again, I still miss Pelche's energy. I miss Zummack. Like Kuzmenko's end of the season, now you saw he's playing really well with the LA Kings. So hit and miss on that one. We'll see how it goes. But Frost has been decently great. Just want Farabee probably to turn around.
Yeah, and it is 2 years at a $5 million cap hit. Of course, we have to remember salary cap going up, even if the US dollar and Canadian dollar don't necessarily stay at parity. But yeah, Matt C said it's a bit of a worry. I don't necessarily think that it's necessarily the worst problem to have. To quote a network that this show used to be on, it's the $4 to $5 million deals that do end up killing you in the long run, though. So you have to hope that there's better for Farabee.
100% we'll see. Hoping he can get, like you said, Conrad, get better, get to know more the city more, and gel with all the players, and we'll see what comes in the off season. All right, let's do a quick goal scoring summary. We'll go one by one. We'll talk about few milestones, and then we'll get right into the future is bright segment. So I'll start with Nazem Kadri, who opened, and he has been fantastic this season. His 34th goal of the year, assisted by Braden Pahal and Adam Klapka, a highlight reel goal. And this scoring came in only in the second period, and then by then Zain Perek and Adar Suniev have a +1 in their tally as well, especially being on the ice for that goal. Let's talk about the Kadri goal. Conrad, your thoughts?
Nazem Kadri is a frustratingly inconsistent player at times, but for the last, let's call it 3 weeks of the season, he has been borderline incredible. This just another good hands in tight. We've seen that from him a few times in the last few weeks, and just found a hole in Dan Vladar, which made me remember when Dan Vladar was a Calgary Flame, giving up some bad goals to great individual effort, and Big Save Dave did not come up with a big save there.
And at the end of the night, Big Dave save didn't make any great saves either, as he gave up a total of 5 goals. 5-1 was the end of the score. Next goal is our first milestone goal. Sam Morton, assisted by Dryden Hunt and Lomberg, his first NHL goal. What a play by Dryden Hunt to draw up Sam Morton there, Conrad.
Yeah, and good work from Ryan Lomberg as well, getting the one-touch pass back to the rookie. It's a fourth-liner's goal. You work hard in your own zone and then get that on-man break and put it right on a tee for Sam Morton, and Morton didn't miss. Loved seeing his family in the stands going nuts. It looked like he had the biggest fan section for him. I think he had about 9 or 10 of his family in attendance there in Los Angeles, so love to see that for Sam Morton.
100%. And then shortly after again, Nazem Kadri again, another highlight reel goal, a shot from the near the face of circle, Hunt and Lomberg again, so that fourth line gets couple of points yet once again, and this time the goal by Kadri, 35th goal of the season, and like you said, an inconsistent, consistent player.
But what a move by Dryden Hunt at the blue line to chip it around Anze Kopitar, who had just come on the ice. And as we all know, Anze Kopitar, no scrub, as TLC would say, but no doubt from Kadri there. But what a great move from a young player getting his third assist of the year. And probably saying, I deserve to be on this team to start the next season.
100%. We'll see how that transpires. We'll see what kind of new, maybe hopefully they don't add any new players, but we'll see what kind of the looks come the off season. All right, now another milestone. Zane Perek assisted by Michael Backlund. Could Zane Perek could have come into the Ducks game and scored his first NHL goal then and put that game to bed? We would have in a different scenario. Your thoughts on that Perek goal, Conrad?
I think the best part about the Zane Perek goal, it's a beautiful tip, but him absolutely steamrolling Blake Coleman and laughing and saying sorry to his teammate as he picks him up off the ice. That was brilliant. And for a player that he's 19, correct? Did not look 19 today. He was a ball of chaos, and great tip from him. And that's you expect wingers to maybe make that high tip at around the face-off dots, but no, that's a D-man on the pinch with a nice deflection.
Yes, Zane Perek has been awesome. And then last but not the least, Backlund assisted by Coronato. And Michael Backlund, he has struggled this season, but coming back stronger as well after the Four Nations face-off, assisted by Coronato. A nice, great pass and great work to put it 5-0 and 5-0, 5-0, and then Taylor Ward for the Kings. His first NHL goal makes it 5-1 for the Kings, and that's how we end.
I felt so bad for Dan Vladar. Good for the kid, Taylor Ward, for getting his goal. Kind of puts himself in the right place, right in front, and tucks home the rebound. But Dan Vladar worked so hard. He deserved that shutout. I'm sure Hunter Bustevich feels absolutely gutted to take the penalty that leads to that goal for Vladar, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's one small mistake. You can give him benefit of the doubt because Bustevich is still learning the NHL system, so you can give. But of course, Dan Vladar will be gutted because he has been amazing all night, as we talked about. Just before Conrad, before we transition into the second period and to get your final thoughts, Matsy says, anyway, it's Good Friday here. I'm off on holidays. Thanks for all the show. Gang, catch you next year. So Matsy, thank you for being a loyal supporter. We always appreciate you hanging around. I think you have been here most of the 82 games, so thank you so much for being around. All right, Conrad.
Yeah, you've been here for most of the 82. We'll let you get away with getting out of school early here.
All right, Conrad, your final thoughts, any other things you want to add for game specific wise from the first period?
Let the kids play, Craig. We don't need to make a ton of splashy off-season signings. As I said, is the Flames maybe the tank commander now that James Johnson doesn't come around to Game Over anymore. We can afford to drop a few games, play some more of these kids next year. Get us into that Gavin McKenna sweepstakes as he scored another absolutely brilliant goal the other day. The kids are all right. They can be everyday NHLers. Give them a chance. See where the chips lie at the end of next year. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, fair enough. And we'll head into your takeaway yet once again. The future is bright for the Calgary Flames in terms of rookies. But I'll remind you, we are on patreon.com/the Game Over Network if you want some tantalizing goodies, if you want to join special shows, giveaways, merch, anything, or you want to give us some ideas. We are on patreon.com/the Game Over Network. We have a free tier as well, so if you don't have any spare bucks, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the like button, click the bell icon so you are notified as always, we have other game over network markets happening. Montreal, for example, I know Andrew was hosting a special show in the lounge today. So if you want to be part of that, that's all available on patreon.com/slash the game over network. All right, Conrad, second period, here we go. Future is bright. Zane Perek, Adar Suniev, Hunter Brustevich, Sam Morton, who all played excellently tonight. I know Brustevich, he took that one penalty which led to the 5-1 goal, but overall great game from all these rookies who took their NHL debut tonight.
So I'm going to start with the aforementioned Hunter Brustevich. Played a limited role tonight for the Flames. He actually played more minutes than Braden Bahal, his partner, tonight. But for a kid that's had one season in the AHL as seasoning, didn't look out of place. I just want to see a 48-89 pairing next year. Even if that's a third pairing for the Flames and you use them in limited times and situations, let the kids play, let them continue to develop. I think Hunter Brustevich has a very long NHL career coming on if he's allowed that opportunity to grow. And hey, maybe he fills that role of the eighth defenseman who uses his waiver eligibility to kind of go up and down, go play some more games, and the Flames' schedule's a little bit lighter. Allow a guy like Denis Miramanov to cycle in. Daniil Miramanov, correct. But I think we see Brustevich as more than a 7 or 10 game call-up. I'd like to see him as a part-time NHLer at the very least next year. That's because the logjam that's ahead of him, we'll talk about it later, but the logjam the Flames had on D this year won't be a problem for these young guys next year. Knock on wood, Craig Conroy.
Yeah, we hope maybe like players like...
Because you had Tyson Barrie sitting on this roster, collecting his paycheck and eating popcorn for 3/4 of this season. Like, you're not going to have that hopefully next year. You're hopefully going to have a lot of opportunities for these young guys to make a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully the young mentality keeps true for Craig Conroy. And of course, I trust Craig Conroy. It might be just up to the upper management. We'll see. I'll knock on wood. Yeah, like you said, Brustevich on a limited role took maybe that one penalty, will feel gutted, but great game overall. Zane Perek we'll talk about next. He has been definitely buzzing. Had couple shots at the beginning, couldn't convert, but then a wonderful play by Backlund, and then Coleman near him gets his first NHL goal. I think Zane Perek, I think he should stay up in the NHL. I think he has proven ready, because I think the only next path for him is the OHL, which I don't think is the right one to go back to.
I don't think he's going to learn anything more in Saginaw. There is always the potential that you kind of do the thing that Seattle did, is you hold Perek in the NHL where he's not playing. He's not going to get to that 10-game limit. But you kind of pressure to get him out of Saginaw and maybe into a better OHL situation. But I really don't foresee that happening. The other thing that you could see is maybe an NCAA program show some interest, comes a knocking, and he can commit before their roster lock. That's the other thing that I might like to see now that there isn't that barrier in place now for former Canadian junior players. So maybe he goes and gets a year in the NCAA, being his other way around this age roster situation that means he can't go play for the Wranglers next year. But yeah, I think his days in the OHL are gone, and if he's not going to be a full-time NHLer, I think the Flames need to try and figure out a way to keep him on the NHL roster for a majority.
Yeah, I do know that this season though he'll get sent down to the AHL. Probably he can play the playoffs with the Calgary Wranglers. Will be a great boost, I believe. I don't know if he'll play as early as tomorrow. It's a 1 p.m. puck drop, so maybe not. Maybe on Sunday you might see him. So if you are in Calgary, go cheer for the Calgary Wranglers. They are playing at 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. All right, Adar Suniev next. Again, small
I think he was
flashes.
the most. I think he was the most invisible out of the four rookies.
Yeah,
Am
I
I
was.
wrong in saying that?
No, I would say he had. I think his development is still few years away. From what I've seen, he was kind of invisible. He had a bit of chance at power play too, but not so much. Yeah, quite night for him, and not as noticeable. I think. Yeah, I think it might take a year or so for him to progress compared to Zemperek or a Brustovic.
So, my comparable to him is a guy that stepped into a full-time NHL role this year, which is Matt Coronado. Like, they have a very similar prospect profile where they have elite level shots, but the rest of the game needs to ramp up a little bit. Um, and I think you see that with Suniev's gameplay today. Obviously, both come through the NCAA, so a very similar path to the NHL. So I think that projection might be more true than we'd like. So let's give him a year of seasoning next year, give him the taste of the NHL, and allow him to see what this next level can look like for him.
Yeah, 100%. And last but not the least, Sam Morton tonight scores his first NHL goal, fourth line center role. Again, sample size again, but he was great tonight. We'll see what the future holds for him. He's of course eligible for the AHL Calgary Wranglers if need be for next season. But depending on what the fourth line will not look next year, which we'll talk about soon here. I hope he gets maybe a limited role as well, like Brusovic or Zemperek.
And hey, 157.1% of the faceoffs against a team that has one of the best faceoff men in the Kings. Like, you still had to go take faceoffs against Anze Kopitar. I know they rested a few guys, but you can't rest everyone. Hellenius only went 20% in the draw. Quinn Byfield, who did play a little bit of center today, though he's listed as a right wing, 23%. Like, there's still NHLers across the ice that he was taking draws against. And hey, Kevin Fiala, Turcotte, was 75% on the draw, but you also saw Arthur Thomas, their center, fourth line center, when you had the fourth line on fourth line, 0%. So in an area where the Flames really have struggled this year, allowed the Flames to kind of bump that up.
Yeah, 100%. Face-offs has been a struggle this season. We have talked a lot about it on this show, so hopefully Morton is one shine of light. His effects. Morgan Frost is another one. We'll see how he improves, but I think they have solidified picks with Morton and Frost on the face of that. So we'll see how it transfers. Even if Morton maybe, I don't know if he'll be able to play wing role next year. If he does that way, at least for the face-offs, he can come and help out, and we'll see how it goes that way. Anything else you want to add for future is bright category, Conrad?
We do have to look across the ice. Taylor Ward, obviously, kind of has a fun story. The Kelowna, British Columbia native, an undrafted guy, went through the same Penticton V's setup that Suniev went through. Has battled his way 4 seasons with the Ontario Reign. Gets to come in, play some fourth line minutes for the Kings. Again, another one of these guys who you can maybe rely on to play some fourth line minutes for the Kings. And, he's only 27, so there's still some meat on that bone to figure out what Taylor Ward is.
Yeah, 100%. I wasn't familiar of that player. I need to do some more research of these new upcoming players. But since Conrad, you've been in hockey long enough, you might know more of these prospects than I am. So thank you for filling that gap for me.
And as I said on the broadcast, his dad was an LA King, so it's a fun little story there too.
Oh yeah, 100%. Didn't okay. So that's it. Taylor Ward.
Oh, actually, I have one.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
have one other rookie who was on the show or on the broadcast, and that is Megan Mickelson
Oh yeah.
making her broadcast debut. Huge shout out to Megan. She has been so good on the radio side, and thank you for filling in today. First time on the TV airwaves. So big shout out to Megan Mickelson. Love to have more women's representation in broadcasting in this country.
100%. Yeah. She's been awesome, especially for the radio crew, and then now being on the TV, huge step up. And then congratulations. I believe she might, hopefully, she might get more TV roles in the future. I've been hearing things here and there, but we'll see how it all transpires. But congratulations, Megan Mickelson, Zen Perek, Ada Arsenia, Bristovich, Morton, and Taylor Ward for all your rookie debuts here tonight. Fantastic job. Great night to celebrate. Alright, let's head into the third period. And what a way to celebrate by telling you can also follow us on social media. We are at the GameOverNetwork.com on Instagram, Twitter, or X, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you want to find ourselves. Conrad, you're on Blue Sky at ConradKrausert.bluesky.com. I am on at
Bluesky.social.
Oh, bluesky.social. Okay, there we go. Trying to memorize all these things. And then me, I'm on CJY_Anand on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you can find me. And yeah, so let's talk about, I think this will be our fun little guessing segment. If you want to call Ray, I gave Conrad. So Conrad wanted to predict UFAs, RFAs, and other player predictions. So let's do that, Conrad. I'll shoot it over to you. You can kind of lead me through it.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing now that the Flames are out of the playoff picture. We have to kind of look to what this Flames team will look like next year. As I said, we'll do our full breakdown of the year that was for the Flames coming up next week. So check out the channel for that. But we can talk a little bit about these guys who are without contract next year. We'll start with a player that we saw, let's call 13 good games of, Anthony Mantha. Not a lot to evaluate because it was so long ago. And knee injuries are so hard to come back from. He is an unrestricted free agent.
Unless you're Connor Zary.
Well, he did re-injure his knee, so I don't think you can really say that we really know.
No, I mean, he started skating again, so...
Yeah, he started skating, but we don't know. Like, he didn't come in and play today. Like, that would have been... Obviously, there's nothing to play for, so why play a player that's borderline re-injury risk? But we don't know, really, what the extent, especially with him having to go for the surgery.
Yeah.
I don't foresee him being a Flame next year, especially if he can get a better deal on the open market. And especially with the age being 30 versus Connor Zary being 23, it's a lot harder to bounce back from these injuries as you age. So I predict he'll probably go to the free market. Anand, you said that you're 50-50 on this.
Yeah, I'm a 50-50 on Anthony Mantha, small sample size. I wouldn't offer like a long term if he can do 1 or 2 year maybe. I just want to see what the player is capable of. If he can produce the talent. I mean, he showed some good flashes, which I liked. But again, if he can do something short, but of course, as a player, I know he might want a long term, so we'll see how that transfers. But I kind of liked him for the little bit we had him.
So Justin Kirkland, 28 center UFA, I think the Masterton Trophy nominee for the Calgary Flames, also went under the knife for an ACL injury. I think probably if he wants to stay here in Calgary, playing that up and down Wranglers Flames fourth liner role, I think he'll probably be given that opportunity to stay. However, again, he's 28. He's a center. He may get an offer elsewhere as he is an unrestricted free agent, but I think the Flames might want to bring him back. Just if he puts Dustin Wolf in Taffy's place, I think you keep someone like that around.
Yeah, and he's a shootout specialist too. He has had more success rate than anybody in shootout, so I would definitely keep him. he has a good story to go behind as well, and also he has a Costco nickname as well. So those three earns my vote that he can stay.
Dryden Hunt didn't get a lot of a shot in the NHL this year. Kind of came up and down. I put a big old question mark. He's UFA. He might just go where the grass is greenest. You've said yes, potentially to the AHL. But that brings me to my question. Do you need a guy who's a career AHLer to fill that top line left winger, or can you allow someone like Sam Honzek to try and build into that role and not have someone ahead of him on the depth chart?
I mean, Sam Martin is a center.
Hasn't been playing as a center in the AHL. He's been on the left wing.
Interesting. Yeah, good point. You could argue either way. Again, we haven't seen much of Dryden Hunt, especially because this last few weeks he has been sitting in the press box compared to seeing game time, so I can't really evaluate. But
Looked good today.
Yeah, today he was fantastic.
Had a couple
but that was
assists, so maybe
one
that
game.
should change things.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, and I don't want to really get bogged down because this is actually a longer list than I thought it was when I went through this. Kevin Rooney, 31, UFA. I think he's performed admirably, has filled a hole in this roster, but I don't want a 31-year-old center to be my fourth line center in the NHL.
Yeah, no need of Kevin Rooney again. I think we have seen enough. He can go find a new home.
Hey,
Not to
maybe
be
he
too
goes back
harsh.
to the Rangers. They loved him in New York.
Yeah.
All right, then we go into a string of RFAs on the forward front. Morgan Frost, restricted free agent with arbitration rights. I said yes. You said yes with an exclamation mark. As I said, he's probably the better of the two forwards we get out of the Flyers trade. I do have to wonder what his agent will argue are the comparables, because I see him as a third-line center. But does that mean he's going to be making similar to Michael Backlund or less than Michael Backlund? Is kind of, as a Flames fan, that's my bar. We'll have to see what the arbitration settlement is, because it's probably going to be a bridge year of about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I've liked Morgan Frost, like you said, as a whole from the trade. But I want to see a little bit more from Morgan Frost. We'll see by next season what he's capable of. If he can gel up that second or third line pairing center, I think he's in a good chance for it.
All right, and I see we are having some more comments in the chat. Reminder, we will be addressing your comments when we head to the overtime period a little bit later on. But let's continue heading down this restricted and unrestricted free agency. I'm going to do these two as a pair, because I think they have a very similar situations. Connor Zary and Matt Coronado, I think they're both going to get probably 2 or 3 year deals. Get them into that RFA with arbitration area. Obviously, the Flames probably want them to sign longer, but why would you as a player sign away UFA years? So I see a bridge deal in both of their futures.
Yeah, especially Zari, like you said, with that unfortunate second knee injury, it's difficult to gain traction on what it might be. Coronado, I would probably maybe look into a long term for him. I think you have a franchise player in him as a rookie, especially if he's on the wing. But Zari, yeah, it might look like a bridge for him.
And then we have Adam Klapka, who is a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. How do you set what that contract should look like? Do you base the contract on the 60 games to open this season, where he was playing most of his time down with the Wranglers, or do you base it on the last 12 games where he was potentially an all-star? It's such a tough idea to know what his contract's going to look like. Both of us want him back, but it's going to be an interesting arbitration session.
Yeah, good point. I think if we can maybe work a two-way deal, so part in Wranglers.
It's going to be tough.
part in Wranglers, part in Flames. And whenever you need a tall menace player, you bring him up to the Flames. And then when you are full of people, then you send him down.
It's going to be an interesting session there. And then Sam Morton, an RFA with arbitration rights, as he is a little bit older. Probably bring him back. He probably gets a two-way deal from that arbitration session. And, I think what we saw today, obviously getting his first NHL goal, maybe there's something on there. Maybe he is one of those guys who gets to float around and play up with the squad more often next year, especially if we lose someone like Kevin Rooney.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Joel Hanley, because this is where we differ a little bit. He's a 33-year-old defenseman, unrestricted free agent. 33-year-old, thank you for your service, Joel. Out the door, we have young guys who need roster spots. That's my thought. You're 50-50 on it. Let's talk through that.
Because I think because he was a waiver pick and how he was fantastic for majority of the season, I think maybe if he can get a 1 or 2 year deal, I think just to maybe, if in case we lose Rasmus Anderson or somebody, if he can maybe solidify, maybe give a vet, like a vet option, maybe Joel Hanley is the person to. But I get your point. Of course, 33 years old, you can say probably goodbye, thank you for your service. But maybe just that one option, of course, reminding yourself that we got him from a waiver pick.
Well, we got him for a waiver pick, so losing him for nothing is like what we cost to get him on the squad. Kevin Ball, 24-year-old defenseman, RFA with arbitration rights, capital YES with an exclamation mark for both of us, has been really, really good so far this year. I forgot he was only 24 until I looked at this list, and hey, if we decide we need to have a steady defensive presence with Zane Parekh, we can go worse than having the 6'7" defenseman with the longest stick on the team sticking around with him.
Yeah.
I wonder what that deal looks like, though.
Probably 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years, $3 to $5 million.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're the Flames, you're going to argue, hey, you played with Rasmus Anderson for a majority of the season. You probably had your numbers propped up a little bit. And if I'm Kevin Ball's agent, I'm just going to look at the fact that Kevin Ball was in the single digits in plus minus, but Rasmus Anderson had a minus 36 or 37 in the plus minus. Interesting contract situation there. And then Dan Vladar, we're both kind of, if he wants to stay and not take a pay jump and be the backup, we're more than welcome to having him sign 1 year deal. But it's whether he wants to stay in that role.
Yeah, 100%. Dan Vladar, he was amazing tonight. And in the past few starts, of course, does he want to be a backup for Dustin Wolf? That's the question. We'll see. If not, then he might find a new home, whichever team is calling for him. But we'll have to see which argument off the front he wants to be. Does he want to still back up Dustin Wolf and be part of this team?
All right, lightning round. Martin Frk. He was frickin' irrelevant this season. 31-year-old right winger, UFA. If you can get him on a 1 year AHL deal, then maybe he stays around. Again, I don't want to have a guy that's clogging up the AHL that's age 31. I want that to be where these young guys are getting playing time. You're in agreement with me there?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Martin Frk. He was good for the Wranglers. He has been a great power play scorer. So if we can keep him in the AHL, do so. Otherwise, yeah, with the age, you can say probably he may need to find a new place.
Clark Bishop, 29-year-old center, unrestricted free agent. Clark, maybe keep him around to be that first or second line center in the AHL. Reliable enough to call up if you have an injury in the bottom six. Other than that, I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, and also I think Bishop might be like one of the better players on the Wranglers, so keep him in the Wranglers. He might still be a captain if he gets a chance. I don't know.
That is true. He's still the cap. I forgot he wears the C. And especially because I'm going to say goodbye to a couple other players, I think, in that range. Maybe he stays around to be that leader.
Yeah.
Rory Cairns, 23, center, RFA, no arbitration rights. You've got a big capital letters. I say maybe. That's probably going to be a probably. It's probably going to be a bridge deal, get him to free agency, have him be that rotational fourth line guy.
Yeah, 100%. Karen showed flashes when he came up for that couple 2 to 3 games in between. Of course, I would have loved to see more, but they sent him down too quickly. But he has been a superstar in the Wranglers as well, so maybe like a
Because we
two-way
didn't
deal.
want to
They get-
lose Kevin Rooney.
Yeah.
One of the decisions I will never understand. Tyson Berry, goodbye. We're not going to go any further on that. Jared Tenorti, AHL only deal was my thing. He said 50-50. I just don't. Again, he's that veteran presence, but he'll be 36 next year. Do we need that in the AHL? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he retires at the end of the year.
True.
Who knows?
And do you... Okay, do we want a veteran in the AHL too to bring up these rookies maybe?
You can
But he has
sign
been
lots of
inj-
those guys. There's
But he
lots
has
of
been
those guys in the
injury-
market.
And he has been injury prone too, so yeah, probably. Thank you for his service.
Yeah, thank you for your service. You've been here and you've been in the NHL for a long time. Jonathan Aspero, he is 25 and he has reached that weird little hitch in the UFA RFA system. So he is what's called a Group 6 UFA. He has played 3 years as a professional hockey player, has not played as 80 NHL games, so he will be a free agent. So I have to predict that he'll probably go test free agency.
Yeah,
Try and get that 7th defenseman deal.
probably. Good point. But I don't think I've seen his NHL levels yet. I don't think nobody has. But you could be right.
Utah, Golden Knights, lots of teams will sign guys for that middling area. Jan Kuznetsov, RFA with arbitration, probably will re-sign. We're both in agreement there. Jeremy Poirier, who I think is probably a guy who wants to see some more minutes, even though he's 22 years old. He's a restricted free agent without arbitration rights. While Terry Ignatiu, he was the backup goaltender with the Wranglers. It'll be on him if he wants to stay in North America. I think you're really correct to say that.
There have been talks about him going back to Sweden. Wranglers also have signed, or even the Flames have signed a couple goaltenders as of late. Owen Say, who is coming from, I believe, University of Calgary.
NCAA.
Yeah, NCAA. And then Sergeyev as well. So I think either Ignacio time is wrapping up or something like that, because I think we have quite a few goaltenders now in the system.
That's my entire deal with him and Connor Murphy. Connor Murphy, a year older, so he has our arbitration rights. I see him probably just getting waived by the Flames. Who
Connor
knows?
Murphy, I would see him staying in case if there is a case that Cooley comes up to the NHL. I could see Connor Murphy stay, but we'll see how that.
I could foresee the Flames signing another Vladar level player. To be that backup who has a little bit more NHL experience than a 0 NHL starts, Connor Murphy or a limited Cooley. But we'll see. And then the other two I want to talk about, Jake Boltman. If he doesn't sign by August 15th, the Flames lose his rights. He'll probably get an AHL deal this year. And Jaden Lipinski out of Vancouver. Flames lose his rights if he's not signed by June 1st. Probably just a contract number issue. He'll probably get that deal done before the 1st.
Yeah, Baldman, I don't know much about him. I need to do a bit of research. But Jaden Lipinski, yeah, probably. I know he's not NHL ready yet, but AHL probably he'll hang around.
So that's your RFA, UFA brief glimpse. We didn't really go deep into a lot of those guys, especially the AHLers. And you have to remember, the Denim Man did ask what the Flames have to play with for cap space. We ended the year with $17 million in cap space. So we're nowhere near the cap, nowhere near the floor. We're kind of in that middle ground. Lots of room for more. There is some RFAs in the market. I'm sure as the offseason goes on, we'll have plenty of time to talk about those through the network. So, I think it's time to hit our final overtime this season. What do you think, Anand?
100% final overtime. Thank you all the fans for your support and dedication and chatting and keeping us company throughout this almost 1 hour here tonight. But we'll quickly rapid fire through them. We'll start with Matt C first. Finished the year on 96 points, 5 more, both than the New Jersey Devils and Habs. Missed the playoffs by 1 regulation or 21 seconds. What a season! 100% what a season. We talked about that. But on a good note, like Conrad said, the future is bright. We got to see the kids play. Now that is how to wrap up a fun season. The future is bright and can't wait for what is going in store going forward. That's Lil Uzi Butt. Indeed, we talked about how the future is bright. Christian Merrill said the 21 seconds kill me. It kills me too, Conrad. 21 seconds. That's a hockey difference. Matt C saying 2 years for Farabee at over $5 million. He's a worry in my opinion. But we talked about not really, especially the cap space going up, and hopefully he'll get a reset soon. Structurally, Frost is a good get, 100%. We talked about how amazing he has been on the face-offs. Matsy giving Good Friday. He's from Australia apparently, so all the way from international. Thank you, Matsy. Tokai number 1. I forgot we had Mantha.
I think a lot of people did.
Unless we went through that list, we would have also forgotten Mantha was part of us. What do the Flames have to play with for cap space? Lots, $17 million almost. And that number will rise eventually. We need to address those 14 overtime losses. If we were better at OT, we could be wasting 8 days next week.
I like how he put that. Wasting 8 days. I'm sorry, I don't know Tokay gender. Apologies. But yeah, we could be getting Murray Edwards his 2 games of home playoff revenue if we played in the Eastern Conference.
And Tokay number 1, we need Rasmus and this minus 38 to get to McKenna.
I think if we play Kevin Ball 22 minutes a night, we'll be in the Gavin McKenna territory just fine. Thank you very much.
And follow-up question to my above, who would be a realistic catch?
Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner.
He's the best available on the market. I wish he was a center, but there's not a lot of potential free agents coming down the line. Let me double check that. We'll let that kind of be our last.
And then 70 million tricky. Then again, Detroit hasn't managed to do anything with significantly more. So I'm sure the Flames can do something. It's a last chat topic of tonight.
Yeah. So Mitch Marner is the top of that list. However, there's lots of rumors coming out of Toronto that he'll stay. Nikolai Ehlers made $6 million. Didn't get an extension in Winnipeg. I wonder if he wants to stay in Canada. He's one of those guys who I believe wants to go see some palm trees potentially for the next 3 years. John Tavares, no. I know he's a center, but no. Sam Bennett, you know what? We've had a good reunion with his former teammate Ryan Lomberg. That's a player I could see the Flames going for. And hey, he doesn't take as many stick infractions as he did when he was a Flame. So, who knows? He could be... Oh, actually, can you imagine that? Where the Flames' top 3 centers could be Nazem Kadri, Sam Bennett, and then Morgan Frost. I like the sounds of that.
And then Sam Martin.
That doesn't sound like a Gavin McKenna winning team, though. I don't know. And then Brock Besser, I think he's done as a Canuck, but I also think he's done with Canadian markets after being in that situation. Yeah. I think that's where we can leave it for
tonight.
The 2024-2025 season.
All right. On behalf of Conrad, myself, Anand Unnithan, Matt DeMille, Ruby Zummack, and Marek.
And Peter Klein.
I'm getting to it. Stand by. Peter Klein, once before Audie James, and anybody else who tuned into Game Over Calgary. That's Matt C, Deniman, Tokai number 1, Lil Uzi Butt, all our regular viewers. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you being huge supporters. Like Conrad said, next week, watch out for our season recap video from our crew. But until then, Conrad, any final thoughts or comments?
For a guy who said ninth place is the worst place to be, pretty happy with how this season ended. Let's look to the future, Flames fans. We'll get some yeah babies in there eventually.
100%. And yeah, thank you for all the memories. Thank you for all the support. We are really appreciative from Game Over Calgary. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the long weekend. Happy Easter to anybody who celebrates. And we'll see you on the other side of the world.
Let's go LA Kings. Kings in 4, baby.
Kings in 4. Let's do it. All right. Have a good night.